So now we're going to create the step 1 screen. So first let's put the title in here. So if we go up here to the title that you can see right up here, you see that the title is step 1, position yourself. So that's what we're going to type up here. And then I'm going to bold this as usual. And I'm going to change the color to our standard color that I've been using. There we go. Okay, so now before we go any further, I'm just going to delete this text box here because we don't need it. And we're going to copy in a second what we created on the juggling process screen, because we want everything to appear in the same location every time you go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4 to step 5. But before we do that, let's just go to the storyboard and take a look at what we're creating for this screen. So here we are at the step 1 position yourself storyboard screen. So this is what we're going to see. You're going to see step 1 like this with the avatar and the buttons alongside, and then there's going to be some text that's going to appear here in the top left corner. And there's also going to be a ball that's going to fly in from the right hand side of the screen, and it's going to land in her right hand. So this is the text here that's going to be on the base layer. So we're going to be putting this in separate text boxes for each bullet because we're going to time it with the audio narration, which we will come back to later to insert. For the media, like I said, we have the avatar. It's going to be in the same spot on screen as the previous slide, but with the arms by her side to start with. And then there's going to be a list of steps, the buttons that are to the left, but with step 1 button emphasized with the different color. So because this step 1 is selected now because we clicked on it, it's going to change to blue. And then a yellow ball is going to enter from the right hand side of the slide. And at which point the avatar will change her pose so that she is catching the ball. So the main programming considerations are that text will appear on screen as the narration plays, and this will be triggered by cue points in the timeline. A ball will fly in from the right along an arc animation path, which will be triggered by a cue point. The avatar will change poses from her arms at her side to arms at right angles when the ball enters the slide, to appear as though the ball is being caught. So let's go back now to the screen, and we're going to go to the, let's go to the story view right here. So this is the screen we just created, the juggling process. I'm going to double click right here. And now we're at that slide. Or you can always just go up here if you know which one it is, and just you can see by hovering over on the left hand side which screen it is. So there's different ways to get there. And before I do anything though, I think just when I was looking at this after I created the slide, I realized it probably should move down a little bit because we are going to be inserting text here in the top left. I want to just make sure there's enough room. So I'm just going to move that down a bit just with my arrow keys on the keyboard. Okay, I think that should be pretty good. We can always tweak it, but remember, once we start inserting these, it'll be a little bit harder. So I'm going to now copy this now that I've changed the position on the screen. And I'm going to go over here to step 1. So you see when I'm over here on the left hand side, if I hover over this box, it says step 1, position yourself. So I know it's the right one. And then I just click. And then I'm going to paste it in. So now it should be in the exact same spot as this slide here. So when I switch to it, you can see that nothing changed except the title, because right now we haven't done anything else to it, but I just wanted to show you that it's now in the same position. Okay, So now we're going to change the state of the step 1 button, because now that we're on the step 1 slide, it means that we clicked on this button and selected it. So a way to simulate that is to show that the state changed. So remember in the previous video, we changed these states. So this is our selected state. It's a blue color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now set the initial state of this button on the step 1 screen that we're on right now to selected. So when I do that, it's going to show up as blue. So if you go back now to the juggling process screen and then flip quickly to this one, it's going to look like it was selected because it changed color. And we can even try that. So let's go to the preview. Let's just preview the whole thing and I'll show you what this is going to do. So if we go to the juggling process screen and I click on step 1, it now jumps to this screen here, position yourself, and it's showing as blue because we clicked on it. Now let's change the position of the avatar. So if we go back to the storyboard for a second, we want the avatar to start with her hands down by her side. Now this is just what I did to kind of show how you can do this and make a little animation out of this. So we're going to start with her hands down, and then at a certain point in the timeline, her hands are going to change to this position and she's going to catch the ball. So that's what we're going to simulate right now. So I'm going to click on her and I'm going to go up here to design and then to pose over here. And I'm going to change her pose. Let's just scroll up here to arms down by her side. Okay, and then I'm going to copy her. And I'm going to make sure she's in the same position as the other one. So to do that, I'm just going to check what position this avatar is. So she's at 348, 118. And I'm going to make this avatar the same. So 348, 118. So go to size and position. So we're almost there. We just have to change this to a 3. There we go. Now the second avatar is on top, and I want to change that pose for her to hands out right here. And I want to make this avatar, the second one, with her hands out. I want to change the state of that avatar so the initial state is hidden. So you don't see that just yet. When the screen starts, you see the avatar with her hands by her side. And then at a certain point in the timeline, you'll see her arms change to hands at right angles right here. We're going to do that in a minute. So what we're going to do, let's go to the timeline here. And I'm just going to extend this a bit. We don't know how long the audio is going to be exactly, but I'll just extend it out. And I'm going to create a cue point. I'll just set it arbitrarily, let's say after a few seconds. So I don't know, we'll pick 8 seconds. So I'll hit C on the keyboard, or you can right click and create cue point. All right, so I've created a cue point, and now I'm going to set a trigger so that the avatar with her arms by her side is going to disappear, and then the avatar with her arms out at right angles is going to appear at this cue point. So we go over here to create trigger, and we're going to change the state of the first character here. So we have Carmen 1 and Carmen 2. So this is the one with her arms by her side. We're going to change that to hidden when the timeline reaches cue point number 1. So we're on that. And then we'll create another trigger to change the state of the second character. So we're changing the state of the one that initially starts as hidden to normal when the timeline reaches cue point 1. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So let's go to preview this slide. Now we have to wait 8 seconds because that's what I set it at, if I did it right. There we go. So after 8 seconds, it changed from arms down to arms out. So that's going to make more sense when we have the ball that comes in and she catches it. Okay, so now we're going to copy in the text boxes. So let's go back to the storyboard. And instead of copying all in one chunk here, I'm going to copy it line by line because we're going to want to sync this with the audio. I think it will be nicer if we just do it one line at a time. Let's go do that right now and just copy them in, and then we'll adjust their placement. And then we'll set some arbitrary triggers with cue points just for now. And then later we'll tweak those timings on the timeline when we add the audio. Okay, so there are the text boxes. Now I'm just going to adjust the placement. What I'm going to do is, I know what pretty much looked good when I did this before creating this course. So I'm just going to set these, and you can set them at the same positions if you'd like as well. So I'm just going to right click and go to size and position, and I'm going to change this to 24. So 24 pixels horizontal and 60 pixels vertical. Okay, that's where the first one will be. And then the second one, again, we're going to do 24 horizontal for all of them. And this one will make 82. You can just eyeball it if you'd like. I'm just showing you how you can get precise positions by actually typing in the actual pixels and where you want it horizontally and vertically. So we'll change horizontal here to 24. And the vertical will be 104. And the last one here, 24 pixels horizontal and 126 vertical. Okay, there we go. So they're lined up right there. I'm just going to change this here because that needs to be a superscript. There we go. And shortcut key for that, if you don't know, is Shift-Control+. All right, so those are in there. Now let's create triggers for each one of these, just arbitrarily. So first I'm going to create cue points. I'm just going to put them on the timeline here, but we don't know really when they will enter with the audio narration, so we're just going to arbitrarily set them for now. So I'm just going to expand this a bit here. So here are the text boxes. I'm also going to extend these. So let's just extend these out. Okay, so I'm going to create a few arbitrary cue points. So we just need 4 of them. Okay, so I have the first cue point here is our one for our avatar, and then we have 2, 3, and then 4 I put kind of in the same place as this one because it's when the ball will come in, but we can tweak that later, and then 5. We'll just move that over a little. Okay, so remember, this is just arbitrary right now. We're going to have to set this with the audio narration to be more precise. So I'll just lower that down, and then we're going to go and create the triggers to have these come in with the cue points. So first, these need to be hidden. So they're going to be triggered later. So we need to change the state of each one of them as well. All right, so just click on each one individually and we'll change the state. So the initial state will be hidden for that one. And then the next one here, hidden. Hidden. And hidden. There we go. Now I'm going to just go save this so I don't lose this. All right, so they were all starting at a hidden state. So that means if we go preview this, we're not going to see the text boxes yet. Okay, so then we're going to go and create triggers for all these. So they're all state triggers. So we're just using states and cue points in the timeline to do this. So we're going to change the state of text box 1. Now remember, when you go here, you can see it highlighting the object. So in case you're not sure what it's called or you didn't give it an exact, like a special name, like I'm not doing that for this, but you can always indicate what the text box name is. It just takes more time doing that. So text box 1 is the first one. We're going to change it to normal when the timeline reaches. Now remember, the first one for this will be cue point 2 because we already used cue point 1 for the avatar. And it already knows that we want that one. All right, and the next one. So wear comfortable clothing, set a trigger, change the state of text box 2 to normal when the timeline reaches cue point 3. And the next one, trigger, change the state of text box 3 when the timeline reaches cue point 4. And then the last one, set a trigger, change the state of text box 4 when the timeline reaches cue point 5. All right, so we've now set those cue points. So now let's go and insert the ball that she's going to catch. So it's going to start over here on the right hand side. It's going to come in and she's going to catch it at the same point that the hands change from arms down to arms out. All right, so we're going to go back, I think, to the learning objective slide, and I'm just going to copy this yellow ball here so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I'm just going to paste it. And I'm going to position it in her right hand right here so you can kind of see it there. It's grayed out, but that's because it's a hidden state to begin with. All right. And then we're going to go up to animations. And you can see it already has arc paths attached to it. So I don't think we need both of these, so we can delete one of them. So I'm going to delete this one. And then I'm going to take, actually it has 3, so let's just take that one out too. All right, we'll just delete this one. And I'm going to reverse the path of this one because it's pointing in the wrong direction. Because the green arrow is where it starts and the red is where it ends. And then I'm going to just move that out. Okay. I'm just lining it up with the ball here. And I'm just going to move that down a little. Remember, it's going to start over here We can see what that might look like. Okay, but before we do that, let's make sure that the initial state of this ball is set to hidden because we don't want it to show up when the screen starts. So I'm going to set it to hidden. All right, so now it's going to gray it out. And we want to set a couple triggers here. The first one will be that we want to change the state of the ball. So oval 1 is our, so let's just move this over so you can see. Oval 1 is the ball here, so it's highlighting it. I'm going to change that to normal when the object enters the slide, right here. And then we want to set a trigger to move. So we want to move the oval 1 along arc motion path 1 when the timeline reaches. So we're going to say when the timeline reaches, and we're going to use the cue point number 1 when her arms change from arms down to arms out. Okay, so let me just review what I just did there. So first we set a trigger on the ball so that it would become visible the minute it entered the slide. So you'd be able to see it going along the arc motion path. And then I set a trigger to make sure it moved along the arc motion path when we reach the cue point that triggers her to change her arm position. Okay, so we've created the arc motion path. We actually can delete out this text box because we won't need it because it's on the juggling process screen. So we can actually adjust this up a bit here. And there's an entrance animation on this from the screen we copied this from. So I'm going to just delete that out. I'm just going to change that to none for now, to not have any animation on there. So let's go preview this slide. So remember we set these at arbitrary timings right now. And there we go. We saw that the ball came in. Now, I think the timing is a little bit too quick on that. So I'm going to go and just change that. So if you just click on the ball here and go up to the animation tab, the duration is 1 second. Let's increase that to 2 seconds. And then let's just go preview this slide again. All right, so that's pretty good. We're gonna be tweaking the timing of that a little bit later, but we'll leave that for now. Now let's look at the buttons here. So we need to make sure that when we're on this screen, if anyone clicks on any of these buttons, that it will go to the proper location. So let's look over here on the right-hand side first, because we copied these in from the juggling process screen, and now we have these triggers here that say unassigned, because this is when we had the layer in the previous slide where we showed the text boxes that popped up on the left-hand side. So we need to delete these out. So you can either go up here to the little trash can or just hit delete. It's going to ask you if you want to delete it and say yes. You can also say don't ask again. So we'll go to each one of these and I'm going to delete it out. So now we just want to make sure that button 1 is going to jump to step 1. We're on step 1, but we just kind of leave it that way. All right, if it got clicked again, we would stay on that screen. Button 2 is going to jump to step 2. That's correct. So I'm just verifying because this was copied from the previous slide. So we're just kind of verifying that it's correct. And button 3 is going to go to step 3 when the user clicks, and button 4 to step 4, and button 5 to step 5. So that looks correct. And now let's just make sure the play triggers are correct here. So the next slide is going to be step 2. So just change that. And the previous slide was the juggling process screen. So we'll put that as the previous one. All right, I'm just going to go save this. All right, so let's go preview this one more time. I'm going to preview the whole thing this time. We'll go to step 1, position yourself. And then the ball comes in and the arm position changes. So now let's just check to see if it will go to step 2. Yep, we're on step 2, but we haven't created these screens yet. So just go back here and then check step 3. Correct. Step 4, that's correct. And step 5. Correct. Now I know they all changed blue, but we'll be doing some tweaking of some of these things later. Then you can always hit replay if you want to reset it. All right, so that's pretty much it for creating this slide right now. We will have to return to this slide to add the audio and sync it up with the timings for the entrance of the text boxes. So in the next video, we're going to look at creating step 2.